Hi there and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm making sort of a fall themed card using a bunch of colors from Brutus Monroe in fall colors, and I'm going to do some pattern stamping using this stamp set by Winnie and Walter. I like all the florals in here and the leaves, and I thought it would be a fun way to use this stamp set and stretch the use a little bit by stamping it out in some fall colors rather than the spring or the summery colors that I would normally think of using this stamp set with. So I'm using some macchiato brown ink here from Brutus Monroe, and I'm just stamping some of these leaves onto my card base. I want to try to create a fall pattern, and so I'm just going to start making a few clusters of these images here and there on my card. I don't really have it all mapped out how it's going to go. I'm just kind of eyeballing it and just changing things around as I'm working. Now this light yellow here is Hayride. This is another surface ink by Brutus Monroe. I really like this muted yellow. I think it goes well with a fall palette, and it goes well with the colors that I've chosen today. I got some inspiration for colors on Pinterest. If you go there and look and you just look up different color palettes or color crush kind of combinations, they have tons of different ones on Pinterest, and this one in particular inspired me. And I saw a stationary invite on Pinterest as well, with sort of a fall colors and floral sort of design just at the top. So that's kind of what inspired this card today. I just wanted to do some florals at the top of this card in some of these colors. So this color that I'm using now is Plum, which is a beautiful deep purple, and I'm stamping out a few more of these leaves just to kind of get some more colors in there and fill in some of these spots. I'm now switching to Terracotta, which is like a brownish red, and I thought that went really well with the theme of fall. So I did go ahead and I scraped a little bit of that ink on a paper before I went and I stamped it. I just wanted to make sure I was getting the right color here. I liked the color, so I went ahead with it. And I'm just stamping just the shadow, the background stamp for these flowers on my pattern. So the stamp set has another layer that you can put on top of this flower that I just stamped to kind of put in some lines, but I kind of like just the shadow background, so I just used that today on my card. If you notice, I'm stamping in sort of threes, trying to keep it in like a triangle type pattern. So I have these 3 red flowers, and you can kind of envision a triangle over it. That is a nice visual way to stamp out your patterns. It looks visually pleasing, and it kind of looks a little bit random, but it's actually a little bit organized, if that makes sense. And so it's a kind of a good rule to keep in mind for when you're stamping patterns. Now I'm showing you all the colors of glitter stock that I have. These are also from Brutus Monroe, and I just thought this card needed a little bit of fall shimmer to it. So I'm picking up my copper glitter stock, and I want to cut it out with this Winnie and Walter die set here. This is I think it's the Fractured Heart die. I'm not sure if that's the correct name or not, but I ran it through my die cutting machine, and now I'm just popping out all of those little triangles from in between. I do want to say that I did run this through my die cutting machine several times just to make sure it was cut all the way through. Sometimes these little intricate dies, they don't like to pop out very easily. So run it through your die cutting machine a few times, and also I'm using a little palette knife just to kind of pop out some of those little pieces that were a little hard to pop out with my fingers. I also cut out 2 more of these hearts out of plain white cardstock so that I could stack them up on top of my card. I thought it would be a little bit too tedious to cut it out of foam adhesive, so just cutting it a few times out of cardstock and gluing them together will give you some of that dimension without having to cut up all kinds of tiny little pieces of foam adhesive. So I used my little Zig glue pen to put some dots of glue on there, and then I just lined up all of my heart dies and adhered them together. I did think that this heart die looked really cool if you offset it a little bit with another color behind it. So I might try that in a future card, but for today I just wanted them all lined up so you're only seeing that copper glitter stock on top. So you might notice that I have a few of those triangles that did not pop out very well on the white cardstock. That's because I forgot to run it through my die cutting machine several times. So I just flipped over the hearts to the back side, and I used my craft knife to kind of gently cut those out. Now they were already somewhat cut, so just using my craft knife to kind of finish that cut, they came out really easy. So I'm stamping the sentiment now in some more terracotta. I do have to say that this terracotta went over the plum on the happy sentiment because I stamped it out in plum first and I didn't really like the plum, so I switched to terracotta without cleaning my stamp. So I got sort of a darker shade of terracotta, but I really ended up liking it, so I went ahead and I used it. I cut that happy out with the coordinating die from the stamp set, and I'm going to layer on top of this heart. Now I am adhering the heart down again with my Zig glue pen. I just really like that glue pen for really small, intricate dies like this heart. It just makes it super easy to put some adhesive on there. And then I'm going to put my happy on top of the heart. And to do this, I'm going to use some of my Zig glue again, but I'm also going to put a little bit of foam adhesive on the Y because the Y is going to be kind of hanging off the edge of that heart. So I want to match the heights of the heart and the sentiment so it doesn't get squished or damaged when it goes to the mail. I want some good support behind my sentiment. So I'm just putting a piece of adhesive, foam adhesive behind the Y, and then I'm going to put the liquid adhesive behind the rest of the sentiment, and that way I'll get an even height all the way across when I adhere down my sentiment. So when you're using this Zig pen, this glue pen, you do want to make sure you hold it down for a few seconds so that it can dry and adhere onto your surface. And when you're gluing on top of glitter stock, I would kind of suggest a liquid glue because that way it can kind of get down into the cracks of that glitter stock there and really give you a good hold. Now I'm finishing off the sentiment with another little saying that came in the stamp set. I embossed it in penny embossing powder, and that matches the copper. And I'm gluing it down with a little bit of Brutus Monroe craft glue, and I'm using a little stamp block here just to hold everything in place while that liquid glue dries. And my card is almost finished for today. I did want to go ahead and put some gold sequins around just to get a little bit of more shimmer in there, a little bit of that metallic gold that I think goes really well with this fall palette. So I'm bringing out my sequin mixes, and I picked one from Dress My Craft. They have some really gorgeous sequin mixes in their store, so I suggest go check it out if you're interested. But I put a few down onto my craft surface, and I just picked out the little gold pieces that I thought went well with this card. So I'm gluing them down with a little bit of my glossy accents, and that will finish the card for today. So I really like how it turned out, very simple with that fall palette and a little bit of metallic. I think it's perfect. And thank you so much for watching. Check out my blog for more details. Otherwise, I will catch you next time. Bye.